Hi, my name is Annie Gassner, and I graduated in May of 2018 from the CEM program. And overall, I want to share why I chose CEM, tell you a little bit about my internships and my full-time experience, as well as where I want to go in the future and the opportunities that CEM presents to its students. When I was at Purdue, I started in the EPICS program when I was a sophomore, and that really got me connected with CEM really well and got me adjusted to learning what I was learning. We were designing an education center and also creating the construction plan for it, so I got to travel to Ecuador a few times with that, and that was, I didn't know about that program until I didn't know about the project until I joined CEM, so it was really neat to have that connection. But overall, I chose CEM because I want to build a better world. So I grew up in Chicago, or near Chicago, and I would always go to the city and see all the tall skyscrapers. I really wanted to know how they were built. How are they standing, basically? So I came to Purdue wanting to do civil engineering. And then I heard about all the different programs, and I thought, I don't really want to be sitting at a desk designing all day. And civils do a lot of the same work that CEM students do. 80% of our classes approximately are the same. But I wanted to be out in the field seeing it happen, and CEM presented me more opportunity to make that happen and make that dream a reality. And so another bonus to the program was the 3 summer internships that CEM helps you find. So I was really fortunate to get in touch with someone from Bechtel Corporation, and I ended up having an internship right after my freshman year. A lot of my friends had trouble finding internships at IR and making that connection, but the program, CEM program, has a lot of connections with alumni who have been through the program and just people out there who are willing to help out CEM students and give them internships. So that's how I got my internship, through one of those connections. And my first summer, I was out in Texas near Houston, and I was working on a chemical plant project. And on that project, I was doing a lot of Six Sigma work, which, if you don't know what Six Sigma is, it's basically creating different processes to improve schedule and cost all across the board and to save time and money, essentially. So working on a project like that really got me into the management side of construction, and I was doing that right out of my freshman year. I had no construction experience up to that point, and I was put out in the field and learned as much as I learned in the classroom just working out on a construction site all summer. And so that was my first summer. The next summer I stayed with Bechtel, and I ended up in Richland, Washington, which is actually in the desert of Washington State. Yes, there is a desert. It's not all evergreen trees up in Washington. And that project was a nuclear waste facility. And so I have some pictures of the projects. This is the chemical plant I worked on. As you can see, there are probably about 15 to 20 cranes in this picture. So huge equipment and tanks and boilers that were being lifted every day. It was really awesome. And then this is the waste treatment facility. It's basically a few support buildings to clean up nuclear waste that was left in underground tanks from the Cold War era and creating all the nuclear weapons. So cleaning up that waste was really essential to this area, because if it wasn't cleaned up, it would have leached into the groundwater, and essentially, if that happens, no one can live in that area. So this project was really essential to that part of the country, and just essential to cleaning up the environment, which I really liked being a part of that. So then my third summer, I was also at this waste treatment facility. But the best part about being there for 2 summers is that I got to try out 2 different positions. So my first summer I was in mechanical field engineering. So I was working with pipe fitters and boilermakers, real boilermakers, out in the field and doing inspections on piping and the big tanks and boilers, and working with those engineers on those projects. And then the next summer I was in civil field engineering, so doing everything from inspecting concrete and concrete placements, and looking at steel and steel erection drawings, and helping out engineers with that. So a variety of experience, all with the same company, and also a variety of locations, just being an intern, and I got to live in different parts of the country as well. So now for my full-time job, I'm working down in near Augusta, Georgia, which is about 2 hours east of Atlanta. And this is a nuclear power plant project. And the cool thing about this is that it's the first nuclear power plant to be built in the U.S. in the 21st century. So we're really on the forefront of greener energy solutions, and being a part of that and providing this greener energy to this area of the country is probably the coolest part about what I do. But I'm a field engineer down there, so doing the same thing that I did last summer for my internship, which is super beneficial because it's with the same company, and I pretty much already knew how to do the job, I still had a lot to learn, but I knew the gist of how to do my job once I started full time. And I looked at other companies when I was looking for a full-time job just to see what else was out there. But Bechtel ended up being a good fit for me because I wanted to go international someday, and they do a lot of international projects as well as a variety of projects. So I don't just have to stay within nuclear, I don't have to stay within oil and gas. I can go to infrastructure projects, building big highways, and doing rail projects, and doing buildings and airports. So I can do all that with Bechtel as well. So I chose them because of the variety as well as the relationships that I had with people. I really liked the people that I worked with, so I decided to go back. So as a field engineer, I spend about 40% of my time outside, and then about 60% of my time in the office doing paperwork I have to do and communicating with design engineers, that kind of thing. And then outside, I am communicating constantly with the craft who are actually building the projects and making sure that everything is within compliance to the drawings and the specifications. And basically, I have to do my best to be an expert on what the specifications are and communicate that information to the people actually working to the plans building. So it combines everything within construction together into one position, because you're communicating between all these different parties, and you're doing management, you're doing construction, you're doing engineering, solving real problems. If it's possible that something is designed and it physically cannot be built, field engineers will work with the design engineers to come up with an actual solution to make that happen. So an example of what I do during an inspection is my favorite inspections are rebar for walls, because I actually get to put on a safety harness, and climb up on the rebar and measure it, making sure it's within the tolerances specified in the drawings. So it's actually kind of like the world is your playground. You get to climb around on stuff, and in a safe way. You get to climb around and communicate with people, and really it's pretty awesome. So yeah, we basically ensure everything is safe and to the highest quality standard that the drawings and specifications present. And so actually I have a picture of it. This is the actual plant that we're working on. So another huge site. We have about 6,000 people working on site right now, and it'll be ramped up to 7,000 by the spring, so in a few months. And it's really awesome to be a part of that. So overall, CEM is basically a family to me. I can come back anytime I want and just chat with people, and even when I was here, all the professors are very much so wanting to help you succeed. They're wanting to see you learn and get good grades. I actually had a professor call me, or he noticed I didn't do so well in one of the exams, so he actually emailed me and asked to sit down with me to have a successful plan going forward, because he wanted to make sure I did well in the class and learned everything I was needing to apply to the real world. So that was really cool. It's really great to have that personal relationship with the professors, but also with the students. The students are just being in the same class with people year after year. You get to know them really well, and this CEM becomes your family, basically. And so, overall, my future goals, I mentioned wanting to go abroad internationally. So, I really want to work in a place like London or even near Sydney, Australia. Bechtel has some projects up there, so I want to go international in the coming future and eventually become a manager on one of these projects when I have enough experience down the line. And so overall, CEM presents so many great opportunities for its students, and you can go everywhere from building projects to road projects. You can even work for nonprofits, you can work for consulting firms. Basically, across the board, you need construction knowledge for just about any type of engineering project. So we've even had students go work for Disney, and NASA even needs people to build their launch pads. So construction is applicable everywhere, and I love the variety of experiences I've gotten, even just being a fresh new engineer from Purdue.